Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are stepping right into the shoes of a digital detective. We're going to explore the fascinating, totally high-stakes world of malware analysis and threat detection. If you've ever wondered exactly how cybersecurity experts track down, dismantle, and neutralize the malicious code that threatens our networks every single day, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. It really begs a serious question, right? What happens when the software we trust turns against us? Because we aren't just talking about a computer running a little slow here. We're talking about massive data loss, severe network disruption, crippling privacy breaches, and frankly, absolute financial ruin. The stakes literally couldn't be higher. With technology growing the way it is, malware attacks have evolved into one of the most formidable cybersecurity threats out there for individuals, corporations, and even entire governments. So, here is our mission briefing for today. We'll start by meeting the digital threat and walking through the malware rogues gallery. Then, we'll investigate the crime scene using both static and dynamic analysis, before wrapping the whole thing up with safe defenses and takeaways. All right, Section 1. Meet the digital threat. Before we can actually solve the crime, we have to know exactly what we're up against. We all know the kind of damage malware can do, but our ultimate proactive defense against it is malware analysis. So what is that? It's the rigorous process of tearing malicious code apart to figure out its purpose, its potential damage, and exactly how we can neutralize it. You see, it's not just about reacting to an attack. It's about dissecting the weapon itself to build much stronger, smarter protection for the future. Moving right along to Section 2, the malware rogues gallery. It's time to review the lineup of our digital culprits, because as you know, malware takes a lot of different forms. Let's start with a classic comparison, the virus versus the worm. Think of a virus kind of like a vampire. It literally needs an invitation to come inside. It relies on human error, tricking you into opening an infected email attachment or downloading a sketchy file. Once you let it in, it self-replicates and infects your existing files. A worm, on the other hand, it doesn't need your help at all. It just breaks the door down. It spreads automatically and incredibly fast across networks, exploiting vulnerabilities to jump from machine to machine completely unassisted. Let's keep going down the lineup. We have 3 more major suspects here. First, the Trojan. Much like the mythical wooden horse, it completely disguises itself as legitimate software. Maybe you think it's a game or a utility app. But once it's inside, it secretly installs other malware or opens up backdoors. Though, crucially, unlike viruses and worms, Trojans don't self-replicate. Next up, spyware and keyloggers. These are the silent watchers. They secretly record your keystrokes and monitor your activity to steal passwords and credit card data. And finally, ransomware. This is pure extortion. It locks up your files with heavy encryption and demands a crypto payout just to give you your access back. That brings us to Section 3, investigating the crime scene. Now that we've identified our suspects, we need to look at the actual methodology our digital detectives use to solve these cases. The investigation basically relies on a really systematic 3-step procedure. First, you got to locate the suspicious files that are actually housing the malicious code. Second, you analyze that code's structure, its hidden functions, and its behavior using specialized tools. And third, you take those findings to determine the blast radius, uncovering exactly how dangerous the malware is and figuring out the specific steps needed to wipe it out. Now, to actually pull this off, analysts use 2 main forensic methods. On one side, you have static analysis. This is where you examine the malware while it is completely dormant, which means your systems stay perfectly safe. On the flip side is dynamic analysis. This is where you deliberately detonate the malware, but you do it inside a highly controlled environment, so you can observe its live behavior and see exactly what it tries to do when it thinks it's won. Let's look a little closer at Section 4, static analysis, examining evidence. Like we said, this is all about examining the crime scene without disturbing a single piece of the evidence. It is honestly amazing how much information investigators can pull out without ever waking the malware up. They look at file metadata and program headers, they generate hash values, which are essentially digital fingerprints, and then bounce those against massive databases like VirusTotal to see if our culprit has a prior record. They can even extract hidden strings of readable text to find shady domain names or commands, and use decompilers to essentially reverse engineer the underlying code. But of course, the criminals know we do this. A huge challenge here is that modern advanced malware actively tries to avoid static analysis. The authors will intentionally obfuscate their code, basically scrambling it to make it totally unreadable. They use some brilliant evasion tactics, like injecting misleading instructions just to confuse our reverse engineering tools, and they might even build in ways to detect the analysis tools themselves. So because of all that, simply looking at dormant code isn't always going to crack the case. And that forces us right into Section 5, Dynamic Analysis, Interrogating Code. Because these suspects are so good at hiding in the dark, sometimes we have to just shine a massive spotlight on them and provoke them to see how they react. To do this safely, we use a sandbox environment. You can think of this as a digital interrogation room, or like a bomb squad containment unit. It is a completely isolated virtual machine where investigators can let the malware detonate safely far, far away from any real-world production networks. It's a contained space where we can just sit back, watch the destruction happen, take our notes, and then simply hit a reset button to wipe the whole thing clean. Once that malware is running live in the sandbox, we basically catch it red-handed. We get to see exactly which system registries it modifies and what files it tries to delete. We can monitor its network activity, like what IP addresses is it reaching out to, what command domains is it contacting for instructions, and most importantly, what is it actually trying to steal? We get to witness the real-time payload execution. Now, during this live execution, investigators use a really cool technique called debugging. Think of debugging as giving analysts the superpower to freeze time. They can literally hit pause on the malware's execution right in the middle of the attack, monitor its instructions step by step, dig into its memory, and even modify its execution flow. It lets analysts put the malware under a microscope while it's actively trying to do its dirty work. But wait, the cat and mouse game strikes again. Highly sophisticated malware is actually designed to recognize when it's trapped inside a virtual machine or a sandbox. If the code senses that it's in an interrogation room, it might purposely delay its execution, or it might demand highly specific user interactions that a sandbox just can't fake, or it might simply play dead, totally hiding its malicious behavior until it thinks it's finally been released into the wild. All right, this brings us to our final section, safe defenses and takeaways. We've seen just how incredibly complex this investigation process is, so how do we translate all these advanced forensic techniques into practical safety? Well, the golden rules of safe malware analysis are absolute and non-negotiable. Running malware directly on a production system is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. You must use completely isolated environments and virtual machines. You have to physically or logically disconnect your analysis systems from your actual networks, and you must monitor the malware's behavior with extreme care. Because honestly, isolation is the only thing standing between a controlled experiment and a catastrophic data breach. So, the big takeaway here is this. Because malware is constantly evolving to hide from our tools, no single analysis method is perfect. The absolute best way to understand a threat and build a rock-solid defense against it is by combining both approaches. You need the look but don't touch insights of static analysis to map out the structure, perfectly paired with the run and observe reality of dynamic analysis to catch the behavioral payload in the act. Together, they give you the complete picture of the enemy. Which leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've seen the sheer sophistication of these digital threats today, from silent spyware to self-spreading worms to ransomware that actively dodges detection. The experts are out there working around the clock to analyze these threats and build better tools. But the true front line of defense is often you. So ask yourself, are your digital defenses, your anti-malware tools, and your daily internet habits actually strong enough to stop the threats hiding right in plain sight? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and stay secure out there.